Hello again. Okay, so I'm going to try to get another little video done. Hopefully I'll keep this one super short. I had made these little snowmen and they were so cute, and I thought I would show you how I made them, and maybe you can sit and make them too. A great craft for kids. Give them some things and they can go to town and make theirs. So what we're going to start with is some pieces. I believe that was 2 inch, 1.5 inch, and 1 inch. I take that back, but you can make them any size. 1.5, 1.25, and 1 inch. You can make them as big or as small as you want. As you can see, this is to go into a page, but some bigger ones would be super cute to like stand up to on a mantle or a shelf, and the kids would absolutely love it. So what I started with, since I'm going to be using thin paper, I want something a little bit more sturdy. If you use like a thick cardstock paper, you probably wouldn't need to do this. You could just cut the paper out, but I just use the a thin, but the Meyer or any butter type thing seems to be a little bit thinner. It's a good weight. You could use a box from a mix. It's a little bit thicker than this. So just remember, when you're adding paper, it's going to continue to get thicker, which isn't a big deal. So I cut out my pieces, and I've cut out several. And then since I did this one in the music paper, which I have lots of because I've collected it from thrift stores and garage sales, and I use it strictly for crafting. Also, I do the same thing with books. So I took a book page from a Reader's Digest, and I just rip a page out when I need it. This came from Romantica Arts. It's one of the digital places I get some of my things, and she does really good background papers, and I thought, oh, that would make a really pretty snowman. And here's some other papers that, and I think I want to, I maybe paid a couple bucks, but I can download or I've already downloaded these, and I can print them over and over and over and use them in projects. And then I also have books or magazines that would be good. A lot of these ideals, I was at an estate sale once, and I found a bunch of these ideals. And when I was a little girl, my grandmother, when she was in an assisted living home, I would go there and they would have these books, and I would read them to her. So they're special to me. But we can make things. You can't hang on to things forever, right? So I picked out this one. I thought, oh, I could probably get some really good images out of there. So pretty much it's simple after that. You're probably going to hear my furnace, but I can't close my door because I'm expecting someone to be knocking on it soon. So basically, it's really, really super simple. You can just take your glue stick, and I'm actually going to take a book that I'm going to use as a glue book, and I'm going to, and you could do either side. If this side doesn't come through and you want a white back, maybe we'll do that. You can put either side down. Let me get back in shot here. I'm probably out of shot. And I'm going to put a good amount of glue on there. And I'm just going to place it down. And I'm going to do that with all 3 pieces. I'm going to set that one aside, and while that's drying, I'm going to grab my Ideals book. And I think I'm trying to get the Christmas tree. I think I want some of these pieces in there. I think they would be fun. So I'm just going to imagine where they are on this side. You could hold it up to your window and kind of draw where that tree is, so I know I'm getting in that area. So I'm gonna stay, you know, within this area, and you can be as precise as you want or not. Now all my pieces are glued, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring back in the very first one I started with to give that one a little bit of time to set up. And it's as simple as cutting your pieces out. Okay, once your pieces are done and they're all cut out, I'm going to take my, you don't have to do this, but this is my chomper, my quarter rounder or half rounder. And I'm going to go to the quarter round side and I'm just going to snip those edges. Now, if you have a steady hand, you can obviously just corner them. You know, I'm not very good at it, so my chomper is kind of reliable. Not everybody has one of these, so you can just round them. Just take a little, you know, pencil, make a little pencil mark, and or leave them square if that's how you prefer to do it. Just leave them square, or cut little corners off. You can do that too. So once I get that done, I'm going to go ahead and ink up all my edges, because I think it just brings dimension to the snowman when you're building him. And I like that. I like dimension. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm getting out of camera. I'm trying to get a little closer, and you know, I'm not the greatest at filming and editing and stuff like that. I try to do it in one take where my editing is very quick and easy, where I don't have to do a lot. Once we get him together, as you can see, he's ready to go. So I went ahead and did my other ones. I really like how the Christmas tree one came out. I think that's super cute. And I've already inked them. And then on this one, I used a little bit of a different ink. I used some of my Stampin' Up! Balmy Blue to ink the edges, because I just wanted a little bit of a softer look there. So then I just put them all together, and then what I did, as you see on this one, I just took a strip of some scrapbook paper and I bound them together. So I'm going to turn them over, and I suppose you could just tape them. I just wanted them to be a little bit more sturdy, but make sure your words are all going the right way, because that'd be a shame to get it all hooked together and find out your half of it's upside down, unless you like that look, of course. All right, so I'm just going to get him all together, and initially I am going to use some tape. Actually, I'm gonna move him, her, it, him until it's more comfortable. So I'm gonna go ahead and tape just to keep him in place. And okay, it's just not as sturdy. So you see what I mean when I'm storing it and I'm ready to, you know, I just don't want it to be all floppy. So to remedy that, I just took a piece of scrap paper, normally like a cardstock, or you could take part of the cardboard that you used. In fact, maybe I'll just do that, because this piece I won't need any more. It's too big. And I'm really just trying to connect those pieces together. So on this, I'm going to take my glue, and if this gets put down in a book, you're not gonna see it anyway, which was my intention when I first started doing it. I just wanted something to decorate the page, which is kind of the theme I've been working on lately. How to spruce up the page. And then just lay your piece on there and let it dry. Then, of course, once you have them all done, you can start working on the rest of them. All right, so for the arms, I actually have a die cut, and it is Sizzix Thinlits, Tim Holtz Alterations, I guess would be Tim Holtz Alterations. Yeah, I don't know the name of it, but that's what it looks like. And from this die, you get branches. Well, to me, they looked like snowman arms. So that's what I did. I just snipped off what worked best. And that became one of the arms. Okay. For those of you who don't know what a die cut machine is, this is called a Sizzix Big Shot. And this would be a die cut. And this is how I got the little snowman arms I had showed you. So I'm just going to show you how it works. Now, normally what you would do, and I'm not going to, you can look up how to use these because, or all the different features, because I'm not going to go through that. But normally they would come with these two plates. And you would put one there, put your die cut in, and put your plate on top. But I found, or I should say scrapbook.com had this magic mat, and it fits perfectly to the size that you need to put your die cut in, and you can wash them and reuse them. And I just take a toothbrush and fluff them back up. I've had this thing for probably a couple of years now, and I absolutely love it. But that only forces me to use one plate, which I love because my other plates, they'd all curl and go wonky, and I'm sure other crafters have had this problem too. But with this magic mat, that does not happen. And then you would just put the only one of the glass ones on top, and then you just start rolling. And if it gives you a lot of resistance, then you probably have to flip one of these up. It's a little bit too much resistance, and you don't want to break your die. Now, I send mine through back and forth a couple of times. Some just roll straight through, but I do mine this way. And then when you're done, you get your die cut. And this is what I used to make the snowman arms. And that one's kind of stuck, but that's why I run them through a couple times. And then you just pull out the little pieces and you're good to go. Okay, so I'm going to use this. I picked black because of one of the snowmen. And then for the other snowman, this was just thin paper, so I actually backed a piece of cardstock. I just glued it on there, and I'm going to go ahead and run that through my die cut as well. Now, die cuts, you know, come in all different forms, shapes, and sizes, and a lot of the ones I have from Stampin' Up, when I bought the stamp, I bought the matching die cut. So you can just look them up. It is a machine I use a lot. I know a lot of people use Cricut, but this is sort of my go-to. So I do invest money in the dies because I prefer this than getting my Cricut machine out. Yeah, I know. So anyway, that's how that's done. If you don't have that, you could always get your cardstock or, you know, another piece of a little bit thick paper. You could also color it brown with a marker, and then I just cut a strip, and then I cut a second strip, and I didn't really care what they looked like because they weren't supposed to be perfect, right? Because it's a snowman. And then glue with a little dab of glue to the back, and this is what I came up with. So there is a snowman arm. So there's other options. You don't have to have that die to do it. Since I do have the die, and this is going to go in probably a journal at some point, I'm going to get another one of my little branches. Well, maybe if I can grab it. Come on. There we go. And I do several at a time. When I do die cuts, I try to do a lot at one time, so I don't have to go back. I can just store them and grab them as needed. So I'm just going to cut a little bit off of there. And then I'm going to place them kind of where I think they look good. I don't want them too far out. I'm just going to snip that off. Or does that look better over here? And glue them in. You don't get much time with the art glitter glue like I told you before, but if you don't press it on, like, well, and don't mess around with putting the pin in, and if you don't press it like super hard to begin with, you can kind of set them on there, and then you might have a minute to get them kind of where you want them. And then when you press them, they're not going anywhere. Okay, so now I have the arms on. This one looks a little bit high. Oh, I can still move it. It's a little bit high. Nope, that one's stuck. That's not going anywhere. Okay, so at that point, I took black cardstock paper, construction paper, and basically the same way I cut out the arms, I cut out the hat. Now this one I was a little bit more, wanted to be a little bit more exact. Doesn't have to be. So I took my ruler, and on my Tim Holtz ruler, I can go 1/4 of an inch without having to measure on each side. And then I just took my pencil and went through, cut, and then I did, on this I did 3/4 of an inch, but after I went to put them on my snowman, I'm like, well, why didn't I just do an inch? Because it would make the gluing much easier, because I wanted the hat to stick up a little bit more. So I'm going to do this one an inch, or just shy of an inch. And then that way, when I take the rim, in fact, I'm just going to cut him across while I'm here. So I just took, now when I take the rim and I go to put the rim on, I get a much taller hat, and I don't have to try to just glue a teeny weeny little part of it. So I'm just going to throw some glue on here. I'm just going to center it best I can. And there is my hat. Now at this point, before I put his hat on, when I did it last time, I had his hat on before I did all this. So I just picked this up at a thrift store. I don't know, I probably paid 25 cents for it. It wasn't very much. But if you don't have this, again, you just go back to your construction paper or your scrapbook paper. And I'm just going to make this even thinner than the 1/4 inch. I just want a real thin strip. And then of course you're cutting on, or you're putting your pencil mark on one side, but turn it over when you go to place it. And then of course it's a little bit too long, and I want it down a little bit further. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hold it and I'm going to clip right here. And then there is, oh, I gotta turn it because I can see the pencil mark. Yeah, I guess I'll put that right on the top of the rim. I guess that's where they're supposed to go. It's your snowman. Make them the way you want. You know, as long, oh, come on. But little pieces are not my friend, and working with them isn't always easy. I don't know, some people I watch, they make them little teeny weeny little books, and I'm like, oh, good grief. I could never do that. Like, I would never have the patience, number one, nor could I hold them in my hands. Okay. And then I have his hat. So I'm going to go ahead and place his hat on. I'm just going to put a little bit glue on the top of his head. I'm going to set where I'm happy. And that looks good. And then for the bow, you could take a little piece of ribbon, if you have a little ribbon like this, and make a bow. I actually had a die cut, so that is how I made the ribbon, but I'm going to do mine this way this time, just to show you how easy it is. And it's a little bit too big. Just want it to be tiny. Oh yeah, that's cute. Okay, and I'm just going to snip and snip. And then I'm going to go ahead and just put a dot of glue there. Okay, I'm going to hold that for just a second and let that glue set. Now for this part, this also came from a die cut, so I can't help you with that. I'm sure you could find some greenery or something. You could just snip a little bit of greenery and put it in there, or just leave it as it is. You don't even have to put the greenery in there. So for the eyes, I just took my Sharpie and I just made a circle and a circle, and I tried to get them even, obviously, and then I just filled in from there. That one I might have done too much. And then for the nose, I took another, I have several colors in the Sharpie, and I just made a little bit of a, yeah, I just tried to make it look like a carrot. Because isn't that what you put in snowmen's noses? I don't know. Okay, and then for this, I just did some stitching to make the mouth. And although you might not be able to see it super well, you still get the feeling it's there. Then I took, if I can find my gems. So I have gems somewhere there. So this is what I used for gems. on this one. But if you don't have gems, you're just going to take your marker and do the same thing. And then I just kind of tried to proportion them, you know, in the right spot. Or you could take your cardstock paper or your black, whatever you're using, and you could cut out some little squares. In fact, I think I like that, and I might do that. You know, make them look whimsical. And there you have it. Now, if you want to take it a step further, you could put a little scarf, which still you could use ribbon or something like this. You could put a scarf. The candy cane also came from a die cut that I have. A lot of these elements come from a die cut. And so obviously you're not going to have anything like that. But if you find a picture of a candy cane, you can most certainly cut that out and put it on there. And so that was just an afterthought when I did it. So I'm going to finish up my other snowmen, and then there'll be a picture at the end to show you what they all look like. So get your stuff out, get your supplies, and have some fun. Here are my finished snowmen. So this was the first one that I started with. And then here are, is the one with the book paper. I really like him. This one came out a little bit dark, but I added white to the eyes. I just took a little bit of paint, took the end of a pencil, dipped it in the paint to make the eyeballs, and then tried to make a mouth. I can't say this is my favorite one, but hey, I gave it a try, and you know, he's interesting. And then this one, I really, really love. And as I was doing this one, I had remembered that I had a stamp. This is from May Made It, and you can find her on maymaymadeit.com. She has a YouTube channel, but this was a stamp that I got that had the eyes, and I had forgotten all about that. So it was sort of an afterthought. My eyes are a little wonky, but then I had remembered I got this stamp too from May, and this had the whole face. So I might try some more at a later time, maybe just some solid white ones and do some faces, or just go ahead and stamp this and do some white ones. But yeah, I forgot all about that. So there they are. It's easy and fun to do. And just get your papers out, get your scraps out, get your book pages out, and make some snowmen. Bye.